All right, acceleration test. What that is, on your scorecard, we are going to test how fast you can sprint a 60-meter sprint, all right? So since we are going to be tracking your progression, and we are going to do this depending on the program that I will give you, anywhere from 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and a year from now, or as we continue to track over the years, it's going to be very important that I'm going to have to ask you to do this a very specific way. There's a lot to it. I'm going to try to do the best that I can to cover everything so that it's clear for you to do. But here it is. Once you're going to train with TTP, there's going to be a list of equipment that you're going to need to have before you even start training with TTP. For that test, we're going to need a lot of things. First, you're going to need obviously your box, because you're going to be starting from that box. You know, if you're going to start from point A to point B, I don't want you to wiggle. I don't want you to come to a rolling start and have that change the result of your acceleration. So you're going to have to start from a dead start, and therefore you're going to have to put your box. Some people use gates, like a one-man starting gate. I would not recommend that, because I want you to remove the technique as much as possible. In other words, this is only going to be testing your strength. All right. So now, as opposed that you're training and your strength is not getting better, but let's say your gait technique is getting better. Next thing you know, you're going to start getting yourself a better time, but it does not tell me that we are actually getting stronger. It's only telling me that your gait has gotten better, which is great. But however, I want to be very specific, and this has to be strength related only. So from a box start, there's nothing to do. You just put your pedal on it and you just start pedaling. So the likelihood of you screwing that up is sliced to none. As far as the gate, you can hold on the manual, you can tilt a bit to the right. I mean, there's so much that can go wrong in a gate. So make sure that you start from a box. Then you're going to need spray paint. You, on the location that you're going to find, you're going to be spray painting where you start from and when you finish in a very specific way. I will explain this, how I want you to do it, a little bit later in the video. But like I said, this is going to be permanent, so that way when we're going to do your acceleration test in 3 to 4 months from now, you are going to use the exact same dot and marking that you've had. So that way we are literally comparing what you were 3 to 6 a year ago to where you are now. So that's going to be as accurate as we can. So use a spray paint for that. You're going to need some cone. The reason why I want you to have the cone is obviously you're going to have the timer, all right? And timer is very expensive. You want to make sure that so that you can see it for yourself. It's going to be easier for you to have a cone to see that you have to sprint all the way from point A to point B. But most importantly, it's going to be for the other people. I mean, if you are on the street, it may be cars, it may be people walking with bike. I mean, that little timer, a lot of time, depending on the brand that you get, but the one that I'm going to recommend you, it's very hard to see, so it would suck for someone to just roll on it. All right, so with the cone, they're actually going to see that there's something going on here that they need to be careful. So that's going to be better for you. Then obviously you're going to need your timer as well. You're going to need a tape measure. Tape measure, it will be to measure the distance of the dot. Like you're going to have some dot that you're going to spray paint on the ground. That's going to be for your timer, and another one's going to be from your wheel. Other one will be from your starting and your finish. So you're going to need a tape measure to measure all that to make sure that it's accurate. Okay. Then of course you're going to need your measurement wheel to actually calculate your 60-meter distance from point A to point B. What you want to do is that 1 meter equals 3.28 feet. So if you do 60 meters times 3.28 feet, that's going to give you 196.8. We're going to round it to 197. So that is the distance that you're going to calculate with this wheel if you live in the United States. If you live in Europe, you will be able to be using meter. You're going to need a stopwatch. When you're done with your sprint, on the scorecard, it says you need to rest 4 minutes. It's going to be very important that at the finish line, as soon as you cross the finish line, you start your stopwatch. Reason is, a lot of time, especially younger rider, they go a sprint and they turn around and they do another sprint, and in less than 15 minutes, they'll finish the test. You need to be resting at least 4 minutes for your body to recover. If you just do sprint and 30 seconds you do another sprint, your leg is going to get tired and your time are not going to be your best anymore and not going to be accurate. Right now, we're not doing a stamina workout, we're not doing a cardio workout. We want to make sure that you're giving me your best sprint, what's going to look like for you to race on the track. So I need you as rested as possible. So 4 minutes, it's what I need for you to do. So you're going to sprint, finish the finish line, cross the finish line, start your timer, pedal around. 4 minutes later, put your bike on that box and you go for your sprint number 2, and so on and so on. So the first thing that you're going to do before we get started on this is you're going to need to find a location. Before you choose your street, you need to think about a couple of things. First, it needs to be flat, right? Number 1, it needs to be asphalt, no packed dirt or anything. Be careful to not choose a street where there is intersection. Be very careful where you choose your sprinting spot and make sure that it's safe for you to do that there. Second step, what you're going to do is you're going to mark the street. So for marking the street, you are going to paint little dot. You're going to do 10 of them, okay? And it's going to look like this. 1 here, 6 to 8 feet on the other side. Just give you enough space to go in between. You're going to paint another dot. This will be your starting line or your finish line, depending on which direction you're going. You're going to calculate 60 meters with your measurement wheel, or 197 feet, depending if you live in Europe or United States. And then you're going to do the same thing here. You're going to paint 2 dots here. Then what you're going to do, you're going to calculate 1 foot further, take your tape measure, and you're going to place a little dot right here. That's going to be for your timer. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. And what you're going to do is you're going to take a string or cord, or like you can actually use a tape measure, and then you're going to make sure that you align those 2 dots and you paint another dot right here in the middle. And then you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. 1 foot further, you're going to be putting a dot here for your timer, and then 1 foot further here, you're going to do that. And then you're going to make sure that you are center, and then you're going to put another dot right here. That's going to be for your tire. Okay? Be careful to not end up making this dot a little bit further here or back. The distance has to be the same. So that's why you can actually use your tape measure to go across to make sure that you are in straight line. And then once you're in a straight line, make a mark and paint your dot for your tire to be. So now you're going to have both marking in both different directions. Now what you're going to do is you are going to start, you're going to put your wheel right here on that dot. So when you're going to put your wheel, make sure that your tire is on the dot, that if you were to look above your handlebar, that the center hub of your wheel has to be right in the middle of the dot. So it's not something where you got your wheel and then you place your dot here. It's more likely where the dot is right underneath your tire, and this is where your hub is. Okay, so you're going to be placing your bike right there. So if this is point A and this is point B, if you were to go down that direction, you would be placing your box right here, either this side or this side, depending on which foot you start from, and you're going to be placing your front wheel right on that dot. This timer, your starting timer is going to be here. It's 1 foot further, so that gives you enough room for you to wiggle. Very important, because you don't want to place it so close that as soon as you move your wheel a little bit, it starts the timer a second or two before you actually start your acceleration. So by putting your timer a foot further, that's going to allow you to wiggle a little bit, to place yourself. Your wheel is going to be on that dot, and then you're just going to be able to go and start sprinting. And obviously when the timer is going to start is because you are actually doing your sprint. Again, now you're not going to be sprinting exactly 60 meters, but we're not trying to make a time official here. All we're trying to do is to find a training ground that is going to be accurate for you to go back to and track your progression. I hope that makes sense. So you're going to put your starting timer here, and then you're going to be placing your finish timer on those dots right here, the further one. Okay, these little dots here, we're only going to use them when you're going to switch direction for your starting timer. So we have our starting timer, and then on the further dot we've got the finish timer. Now you're ready to go. Put your front wheel on that dot, pedal on the box, starting timer, sprint, 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 finish line. Great. You're going to be doing 3 sprints in that way. And when you're going to be done with that, you're going to switch everything over. But take your box and you're going to place it on the other side. That middle dot will be for your front wheel. Okay? So now you're going to bring your starting timer, and that's where you're going to place them exactly in the middle of those dots. Now you're going to take the finish timer and you're going to go put them all the way to those further dots. So you're doing the exact same thing that you were from point A to point B. Now you're just resetting everything from point B to point A. Very common sense. And now you're going to do your 3 sprint. That's what you're going to be doing. All right, now what we have to do is go for a walk, because we're going to measure 197 feet. All right, so right from the dot, not the timer dot, but from the actual dot. And let's go for a walk. Six and 7, right here. I'm gonna set this thing right here. Now we're gonna paint our mark. All right. Now we're going to do the exact same thing that we did from the other side, and we're going to calculate 1 foot precisely from the dot. So center of the dot, that's center enough, and make a tiny other dot right here. And that's going to be for your timer. We'll do the same thing again on the other side. I'm going to put the tape measure right center to the paint, to the dot, and we're going to do 1 foot, and that's going to be the other timer. Perfect. Now we're going to do the dot for the front wheel, because we're going to do both directions. So our front wheel is going to go right here. That's it. Everything is done. Now everything is permanent. All right, so now all we have to do is to just set up our timer. So we're gonna put the starting timer right on top of the dot. Now we're gonna do a target right on top of the other dot. All nice, center. Now we are going to put the laser right on top of the target. Perfect. So now that laser will be about 1 foot away from the center of your hub where you're gonna put your wheel, which will leave you a little bit of room, wiggle room, so that way if you move a little bit, it's not gonna start the timer. Now we're gonna put the finish timer. We're gonna put it right on top of the big dot, which is going to be a finish line. Remember, these dots will be for the starting timer when we're going to go from point B to point A, because remember, we are going to go from point A to point B, and then also for point B to point A. So these dots will be for the starting timer from the point B to point A. Now the timer, this is our finish line from the point A to point B. Hope all that makes sense. All right, right center of the dot. And again, these dots are permanent. So that means that when we're going to revisit, when we are going to do our sprint again, we'll be able to do them in the exact same condition that we were 3 months ago, or 6 months ago, or a year ago. Place the laser right in the middle of the target. Perfect. Let's put the cone also. We're gonna put some cone over here because you want to be able to see it well for yourself, and also you want to give the ability to other people, the cars, to see it as well. I mean, this is a very expensive piece of equipment. You don't want a car to not see what you're doing and then hit something, you know? So put some cone, it'll make everybody alert. Actually, we'll put it here. There we go. Finish line, starting line, we're good to go. We're in business. Let's put the box now. Now this box is 10 inches. You ride a 20 inches bike wheel, so that's gonna be perfect. Put a towel on it to make it nice. That thing is like 80 bucks, so you want to keep it nice. There we go. I have the box, tire, we're ready to go. Come on, grip. So we just got done from point A to point B, so now we're gonna have to do point B to point A. So now we have to switch everything over. So this is a starting timer. We're gonna have to put it on the other side and switch the other. So now we have these dots right here, that's gonna be for the starting timer. So let's put it right in the middle of those dots. Try to be precise, okay? Awesome. So now we have our starting line. So now we're gonna take our finish line and go put it on the other side. All right, so finish line, again, right in the middle of that big dot. Now, so this one right in the middle of the dot again, always the same thing. Let's center it. Right now, I am dead center in the target and everything is right on my dots. Now, all we have to do, bring that box on the other side and we're ready to go for B to A. Come on! The reason why I need you to do from A to B and then from B to A is to make sure that we have a reading of your score that is going to be as accurate as possible. Supposedly that you were to do a sprint, and though you are going to choose a day where there is no wind, sometimes there is still a little bit of a headwind. You may not feel it that much, but it may affect your time a little bit. So I want to be as accurate as possible. If you were to do your sprint and there is a little bit of a headwind, that headwind will be a disadvantage or an advantage. So supposedly you have a little bit of backwind, and then 3 months from now you have a little bit of headwind. Now you're going to look at your score and thinking, my goodness, I'm not progressing. But actually you were just not exactly under the exact same condition. And we need to do the best that we can here. So what's going to happen is, if you do A to B and B to A, is that the advantage that you would have from A to B would be canceled out by the disadvantage that you would have from B to A. To make my point valid, if you were to do that exercise with no wind, and let's say you score 8 seconds with no wind, your average is 8 seconds, great. When you revisit, let's say there's a huge front wind, okay? Well, once you're gonna have wind on your back, let's say you score 7 seconds, good for you. Now you're gonna go the other direction when you're going to have a headwind. Now that's going to slow you down. Let's say you score 9 seconds on that one because of the wind. Your average of 7 and 9 will still be 8 seconds. So do you see now the average will be very close to the same. So it is not going to be 100% accurate. The best thing would be to do it indoor, but doing both direction outside is going to be as accurate as we can be. So I hope that makes sense. Now, here's what you're going to do. You're going to do 3 sprints from A to B. 1, 2, 3. You are only going to keep the best 2. So let's say the third one didn't go as fast. You'll scratch it out. And then you're gonna take the 1 and the 2 and you're gonna average them out, and that's gonna give you your score for your A to B. Okay, now you're gonna do the same thing from B to A. So we're gonna do sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3. Let's say that your first sprint is not good. Scratch it out. Now you're gonna take the best 2 and 3 and you're gonna average them out. So that's gonna give you your score for B to A. Then what you're gonna do is you're going to average the 2 sprint. So you're gonna go A to B, the average score for that, plus B to A, and then you're gonna divide them by 2. And that's gonna give you the score that I want you to submit in your scorecard.
Come on. Grip.
Now, what we're gonna do is we're just got done with our test. His first A to B sprint was 7.672. His second sprint was 7.820. And then his third sprint was 7.807. So we are going to be basically scratching that one out because it's the slowest time. Now you're going to average out, you're going to add the number 1 and number 2, divide by 2, and now all of a sudden we get the average of 7.739. So this is the average score that he had from A to B. Now he's going to do this. Now he just did the same thing from B to A. So his first sprint on B to A, he got 7.788. Then he got second sprint, he got 7.877. And his third sprint got from 7.967. Gosh, he's got a lot of work to do. Some of these European kids, world champion out there, they're hitting this test in less than 7 seconds. So he's got a lot of work to do. But nevertheless, those are his number. We're going to average those two, so we're going to scratch this one out. I'm going to take sprint 1 and sprint 2 because it's his best one. So the average of B to A is equal 7.832. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to take the average of point A to point B, and then you're going to take the average of point B to point A, and you're going to average those two out. So average A to B, 7.739, plus average B to A, 7.832, divided by 2, equal 7.785. And that is his score that you guys are going to have to submit to your scorecard.
Beat the record, 7.672. Let's go.
Go.
Come on, go. Come on. Grip.